We'll do a review on Likutei Sichos in Chelek Chof Ches, volume 28, the first Sicha of the Parshas Naso. We're learning this Lilu Nishmas, Rav Levi Yitzchok, ben Rabbi Chaim Tzvi, a dedicated shliach of the Rebbe, Sh'detei Nishmosi Tzur B'tzir HaChaim. This is a Rashi Sicha. The Rebbe explains a Rashi in the Parsha, which seemingly is very difficult. Rashi mentions that the blessing that the woman will get if she is inspected and it turns out that she did not do anything wrong, and Rashi arbitrarily chooses two things. What kind of blessings? And the sources bring down many. Why did Rashi choose? This is a glaring question. Why did Rashi choose two of many possibilities? And the Rebbe gives a whole new idea of the pasuk of it, which explains the lashon of the Rashi and other questions, as we'll see as we go ahead. We'll go step by step. Aleph. B'siyum parshas soita zog der pasuk. In the end of the portion of soita, a woman who was suspected of being unfaithful, and they give her the water to drink to inspect. So the pasuk says over there, "V'im lo nitmo ha'isha," she was not defiled, she didn't do anything wrong, utahirahi, and she's actually pure. V'niksa v'nizra ozera. So then she will be cleaned. The bitter water that impacted a woman who was a soita, who was not, turns out not to be pure, but she will be niksa from those bitter waters, the cursed waters. V'nizra zera. The pasuk adds she will also have children. She would be seeding seeds. She would have children. So the verta v'nizra zera, the words that she will have children, Taitz Rashi. Rashi translates it. Know them that is mefarish. V'niksa mimayim hamorim chulu. After Rashi says that she will be cleaned from these bitter, cursed waters, kidl come on Siv Gimel, like later on in Siv Gimel, the Rebbe will bring down this hemshech of the Rashi. So after Rashi says v'niksa mimayim hamorim, so Rashi chooses what would be v'nizro zera. Im hoyso yoledes b'tzar teled berevach. If she would be giving birth till now in a painful manner, now she will give it in a wide, in a comfortable manner. Im hoyso yoledes shechorim. If she would give birth to dark children, yoledes levonim, she would give birth to light children. Instead of black to white, which is also a blessing. These are the two examples, the two blessings that Rashi says will happen v'nizra zera. The Rebbe asks, but the sources bring down many more. Why did Rashi seemingly arbitrarily choose these two? Is l'chayra tamuha. It would seem surprising. The mocker from them pirush is in Sifri Gemara. It's both is in the Sifri. It's also in the Gemara in Mesachta Saita, and also in Brachas, the Tesefta, and also in the Tesefta, Valderach Zen Yerushalmi and Tanchuma. These are all sources which the Rashi's sourced V'nizro Zera, something special will happen, is in all these places, Sifri, Gemara, Mesachta Saita, Tesefta, and also in Yerushalmi and Tanchuma. Und in der alle Erte bringen sich noch in Yoni Brucha. But in all of these places, the sources, they bring additional matters of blessing. As for example, the Rebbe brings down, it says, if she was accustomed to giving birth to females, so now she will have males. If she was accustomed kutsarim to give birth to short ones, yeleda saruchim. Now she will have long ones. So this is other kinds of blessing. In some places there is an addition to this. Echod yeledes shnayim, that one would give birth to two. That would make it a blessing to give twins. And Yoledes Shtei Shonim, if she would give birth every 2 years, Yoledes B'chol Shana, she would give birth every year. So these are all other kinds of blessing that the woman would experience after these water, after Viniksa. So the question is, Farvos is Rashi Mishane from the Alle Erter. How come Rashi changes of all these places on Kleiptois Tzvei Inyonim? He chooses two matters. If she would give birth painfully, now she's going to give birth comfortably. And if she would be giving birth to black, she's going to be giving white. Now, why these two specially? The Rebbe says, Ulahoisif, want to add and also Ulahoir to point out, as euch der Rambam bringt bloß zwei von die Inyonim. Also, the Rambam only brings two of these matters in his quote, aber nicht dieselbe zwei, was Rashi bringt. But he doesn't bring the same two that Rashi brings down. Nor, he brings down others. Im hoiso yoledes betzar telech derevach, that if she would be giving birth in pain, she would give birth comfortably, which is the one that Rashi also brings down. But the second one is Hoisa Darka Leila Nikeves Telet Zacharim. If she was accustomed to giving birth to girls, now she will give males. That's Vinizra Zera. So Rebbe points just out that the Rambam also gives two examples. So maybe sufficient example is two, but still the Rambam's two are not the same as Rashi's two. But the question is, why choose? Why does Rashi choose these two? Must be that according to Rashi's style of the Chumash, Bipshat, these are the two most to be interpreted in Benizro Zera. Darfman Zogun. So we need to say, as Aderech HaPshat, that according to the style, path of Pshat, which is in Yonesh or Pirush Rashi al Torah, which is what Rashi does in his commentary of the Torah, Anile Basi Alil B'Shutish al Mikra. That my job, I have come to explain the literal meaning of the verse. So Keme Medayik Zayin from Pasik. So we have to say we can only learn from the Pasik, nor di zwei brachas. Only these two blessings. Vaser bringt. That's why Rashi brings two, because these are the two that we can learn. But first, okay, so the Rebbe wants to know, Rebbe's question is, and also in the notes over here, the way it's in the sources, but the bottom line is, in the sources, there's many different examples. Rashi chooses two. Why these two? It has to be because that's the pshat. But first, the Rebbe says we have to understand, why do we b'chlal have to say that there's going to be a change within the birth? It's going to be easy, hard. Why not say that if she doesn't have any children, now she'll have children? V'niz rozera. But man das verstehen behagdim at me will understand this by introducing the question, the surprise. The pirush haposhut from v'nizra ozera. What is the simple meaning? And she will have children. Nizra ozera, she will be sown with seed, meaning that there will be seed, there will be children over there. So why do we b'chlal have to say that it means something else but that she's going to have children? So is as oip tahirahi. So what is the pasuk saying? That you'll have children. So what would be the simple meaning? That if it turns out tahirahi, that she's really pure, she did not sin, vetzi. So this woman need nor need haben dem einish. Not only is she not going to have the punishment, as the pasuk says earlier, "Fun tzofsa bitna v'noflo yerecha," her stomach will blow up and her thigh will falter, which is the curse if she's tummy. So the pasuk tells us that not only will she not face that punishment, nor zivet haben kinder, v'nizra zara, she'll have children. Unazay lernen taka kama pashtonim. This is actually the way that several of the simple interpreters of the pasuk learn this way. As yiten lo Hashem zera b'schar hakoloin she'irolo, that Hashem will give her children seed in reward because she went through this shame that took place to her. She went through this process and she was shamed. So as a payment, she will have to compensate for that. The Eibishter will give her children. So vikumtes. So how come as Rashi was in is lefareb shutushal mikra canal, Rashi, whose main goal is to explain the simple pasuk as we just said, Taich v'nizra zera, he's going to translate. It's not that she's going to have children, nit as zivet hoben kinder, not that she'll have children, nor as teilat berevach as a Slovenian, that she's going to be giving birth easily or she's going to have white children. Why not say that the blessing is she's going to have children? In the Gemara, there's actually, the Rebbe brings down a machloikis. According to Rabbi Akiva, means that she's going to have children. If she is a barren woman, she'll have children. But the Rabbi Shmuel challenges over there, and he says, so then it turns out that a woman who's a barren woman, if she wants to have children, she'll go and do the act of soita. She'll seclude herself, and then she will be checked, and then she'll have children. If she's not meant to have children, so they want to say that's Rashi doesn't want to say she's going to have children, because if just she has children, then every woman will do that. Let's look inside in Gemara and also in the Sifri, and in the Sifri bringt sich a plukta zwischen Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yishmael, brings down an argument between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Akiva zogt v'niksa v'nizra zera. He teaches what is the v'niksa v'nizra zera. She'im hoisa akorim nifkadas. That had she been a barren woman, she would be remembered. Now she'll have children. Seems like Rabbi Akiva is not saying, as we'll see, the Rebbe we'll talk about in a minute, but he's not saying that if she had children, she would have more children. That doesn't seem to be such a chiddush. So he says, if she was barren, she's going to have children. That means v'nizra zera. In the case if she was barren. Zoktev dem Rabbi Shmuel's argument says about this, Im kein yisteru kol ha'akodesh v'yifkedu chulu. So in that case, all women who are barren can have children, so they should go out and seclude themselves. They should be yisteru, and that's going to give them children. Im kein matamud lema v'niksa v'nizra zera. So Rabbi Shmuel says, so what does it mean she'll have children? But we're saying it doesn't help for having children because then everybody will do this. So you disagree with them. So what does that mean? Matav nixes zera. So he says she was giving birth with pain, etc. Zogum mefarshim. So the mefarshim say that this is the reason also why Rashi, Rabbi Shmuel's argument against Rabbi Akiva is why Rashi doesn't want to learn like Rabbi Akiva. As Rashi learned with Rabbi Akiva, that if she was barren, she is going to be, remember, she's going to have children, mitzad kashi of Rabbi Shmuel, because of Rabbi Shmuel's question, in Cain, yistru kol ha'kodesh v'yipagadu. So then all barren women will go into seclusion. They'll be remembered. They'll have children. That's why he accepts the interpretation of Bishmol that she'll give easy birth or levanim, the cases the Rashi choose. But the Rebbe says this is very difficult in Pshat to say that this is Rashi's reasoning, for not learning the simple meaning. Aber l'chayre is adeiche godel zu sagen. See, but the Rebbe says it seems this is very difficult to say. Ados is time shel Rashi, was nemt on the Pirush from Rabbi Shmuel. Now this is Rashi's reasoning for accepting the Rabbi Shmuel's interpretation and not Rabbi Akiva's. Warum? Because the question the Rebbe says, number one, is not such a strong question, because it's not if we should even assume that it's not proper a woman who's akora to manipulate to get children because she can always do it. The answer is she can't do it by secluding herself. The husband must first warn her, because the stira has to come along, the seclusion, with a warning from the husband. How is she going to get children? She has to get her husband to warn her, and that's not up to her. Secluding, she can go into secluding to try to get the blessing if you think she shouldn't allow. So number one, the Rebbe says the shaila in kain yistru kol ha'koros v'yipklu. The challenge. So if we should say that she gets children because she went through the checking process of the soito, so then all women who are barren will go ahead and they will seclude themselves. Is nit azoy shver. That's not such a difficult problem. Al kaponim derech hapshat nesu. For many reasons, for three reasons. But number one, Aleph, stira lane is nit mas because he's on nifkot and just going into seclusion isn't sufficient that she should have the children, should be remembered to have the children. It has to be after she was first warned by the husband not to go into seclusion with this person. As she goes into seclusion with that person, that is when she becomes a site, and that's when the water will help, and that's when she would have children. So you can't say every woman is who's barren is going to have children because she's going to seclude. She needs to first make sure her husband will warn her. That's doesn't who says that's going to happen. And number two, the Rebbe says, so what's the big actually a big deal? So what are you afraid that the women that are want to have a child are going to go into seclusion? Let them go into seclusion. Let them have a child. Based with Inyan, was is der greiser Gewalt? What is it such a big problem? I an isha kasheda, a woman who is a righteous woman, an akora who is barren, can't have children, or that afilu mer ve'ein, or that afilu mer ve'ein akora, or even it will happen more than one barren woman, many women. That does not, they will do this. So who cares? So what's so why would Rashi be concerned that she'll have children? So who cares? They'll do it. In order to be remembered to having living and sustained children. What's such a terrible thing? So the first thing is she can't necessarily do it on her own just by seclusion. She needs the husband to warn her. So that's not going to happen so fast. It doesn't. That it's not up to her. And number two, what do we really care? And therefore, how come we're going to say that that's why Rashi doesn't want to learn like Rabbi Akiva because she can do that? Okay, so let her do that, or it's not even up to. On the other hand, if you're worried about that she can do something, we have the same problem with Rabbi Shmuel. Base. Li'idoch, the Zelbe Shaila came fragen of Rabbi Shmuel. Same thing you can ask Rabbi Shmuel. The Toysus fragt bleibt Akasha. Actually, Toysus asked the question and remains with a question. Yistru kol yeldus betzar v'yeldu berevach. That still, according to Rabbi Shmuel, that v'niz rozera means that if she gave birth in pain, she'll be giving birth now comfortably. So we can ask the question. So older women that have been giving birth with pain will go and seclude themselves, and then they'll drink the water, and v'nizro zera, they'll become comfortable now. Uv'meforshim zayin in them mefalful meforshim, they give and take in this. They discuss this whole thing. Gimel, the kasha for Rabbi Yishmael is Rabbi Shmuel's question is really his issue. The Akora, the barren woman, is going to change her status and she might start having children because of that. She'll do this in order for her to have children. But we don't have to say necessarily an Akara. You can say every woman will have more children. The kasha for Rabbi Shmuel is im kain, if so, davke oif loit pirush Rabbi Akiva. He has a real issue on Rabbi Akiva's interpretation. Rabbi Akiva says specifically, she'im hoysa akora nifkedes. If she was barren, she's going to change her status, and she's going to now have children. Das heißt, as the bracha v'nizra zera, so this blessing will apply, is gesagt geworden, Leute Rabbi Akiva b'shayches, so Anakora, it was said to Anakora, barren woman, and the question is, then old barren woman will go ahead and seclude themselves in order, and that would be a problem according to Rabbi Shmuel, but it was fortunately Rashi's problem. Be'ez, but the question on Rashi is, we don't have to say a barren woman will give children. Be'ez as the Tmiya Pirush Rashi is a Torah Laroif to Daber. We're asking a question on Rashi. We're talking about the most. We're not talking about barren woman. Parvos is a nit mefarish. Why is it not explaining as v'nizro zera ret v'gorev noshim? We're talking about most women. An isha harui lady. We're talking about a woman who is fit to give birth. As in schar from nirkolen, that's as a compensation, a payment for her shame. Yitin la Hashem zera, going to give her children, not going to change her status. Okay, move on bepashtus. So you're going to say, oh, what's the big deal? No, a woman had children. As oichan isha was hotching kinder, that even the woman that already has children is noch a kind, an additional child is a huge blessing, is a great blessing. So the question that Rashi is, why doesn't Rashi have Nizra Zera? She'll have more children. And it's not the question she's gonna listen. I have no reason to nistera to get because she has children. The only thing is she has more children. She'll get more children. Why doesn't we learn like that? And now the Rebbe asked the beginning of the Rashi, euch darf man verstehen, the Haschole from Loshen Rashi. Also, need to understand the beginning of the language of Rashi's language. V'nikso v'zeloshen. Rashi says v'nikso memayim ha'ma'orim v'loy oy elo v'nizra zera imoysahu. She will be cleaned from these water that are cursing, the cursing water. But Rashi says, not only will she be clean and protected from this cursing water, she's going to have zera. If she was pain, she had him in pain, or had him in black, she'll be changed now for the good. The L'chaira, so why is Rashi saying, Micah Mashmalon, why does Rashi have to say, as v'niksa means she will be clean mained, Mimayim ha'ma'orim, from the bitter waters. Sure, niksa ma'imra, she's doch muva me'elov, that's something which is self-understood. Ados is there pirush ha'poshit from v'niksa. That it means she'll be cleaned, u'kemefurish, freer in their shavua, as specifically earlier in the oath administered to the woman to this saita that the Kohen administers was the Kohen Izir Mashbia. The Kohen administers the oath and he says, V'im loy sotis koimer, and if you did not stray and you did not have this prohibited relationship, he tells her, Hinoki, be clean, v'nikso, mimei hamorim hamaorim ha'ela, from these bitter waters. So the pasuk says that v'niksa means mei hamorim ha'ela. So why does Rashi have to say that v'niksa means from the mayim hamaorim? The Rebbe first brings down the interpretation of Rabbi Yoel Mizrahi. The Ram learned, he explains, as Rashi Bavorim the Mid, where Rashi is coming to caution us, soll nicht meinen, als Vinixo is a Hagdome zu Vinizra Zera. You should not think that this Nixo cleaning from that clear water is an introduction to having children. So Rashi is telling you that how to learn the pshat. This is mashma from pashtus loshen aposik, because when you read the pasuk simply as it appears, as v'nizro zera is a tetzov from v'nixo, that having the seed, having these children, is a result of v'nixo. So v'nixo, once she is cleaned from the mayim hama, so this will allow for v'nizro zera. So there's a two-step process. The mayim hama stop her from having children or berevach, but first we need to go through the process of v'niksa, and then v'nizra. And what would the pasuk means? How would Taichi? This is the pashta pasuk. What Rashi is trying to say, no. When the pshat from pasuk is, what is the meaning of the pasuk? V'niksom idvorim hamoinim haleida. First, she will be cleaned from those matters that prevent the birth, which is the mayim hamaorim, those cursed water. Ubazeh v'nizrozar, and that will allow for her to have the seed. So Rashi was saying, no, it's not connected. Nikso is the Maimam Ha'orerim, Nizruzer is separate. Und das Rashi Shoyle und sagt. It's not that you need to get rid of the Maimam Ha'orerim in order to be able to have the Nizrozera. It's not in order, it's two separate. Das Rashi Shoyle und sagt. Rashi rejects this and says, as a Nikso made Ma'ayim Ha'orerim. That's when the bitter water and should be cleaned. That is the idea of she being saved from the stomach bloating, blowing up, and from the falling of the sigh. That's one thing. Nizra zera is its own inyan, not related. That's what Rashi is coming to tell us according to Rabbi Yom Mizrahi. But the Rebbe says that it's not something that Rashi has to reject for various reasons. We need to understand this now. Aleph, we pass the lotion with nixo dvorim amein maleda. How does the lotion of clean, that she'll be clean from things that prevent the birth? From freer. It's not that the woman got now. She had issues that she couldn't give birth. So v'niksa, so she will be cleaned of them, and now she can have children. But what does it have to do? The posuk of David Zogen v'nirpa should have said not to was cleaned, but she'll be healed, because you're talking about something in the past. If that would mean v'niksa, so that she can have nizra zara, beis v'oid v'ikir. But mainly the Rebbe says, v'kan gorzaina kosal gadaitoch zu taichun. How could there even be a thought to translate that she will be clean from things that stopped her from giving birth? And we're saying, no, this is not. Why would there even be such a thought? Because if that was the thought, was lifizevet oiskumen, as those was the sizmefurish freir b'divra kohen, he uses the same lotion over there. He tells her, a Kohen tells her that if you did not stray under your husband, so hinoki mimei hamamorim eila, be cleaned from these bitter waters. And over there it means what? Over there it means the me'amorim. It says clearly. Here we're adding a new thing. Hinoki from, you had a disease before. She had something, she couldn't have children. So clear from that. But if that is the case, our pasuk, when it says hinoki memayim, meaning from the things that were v'nikso, means from something that she had that prevented her from having children, that would mean that. So in that case, this pasuk wouldn't be talking about at all about what happened that he knocked him my which the Kohen addressed specifically. It's not mashma. Mashma, this hinoki is that same. V'nikso is that hinoki before. Was v'zevet oiskum as those was is mefurish free b'divrei hakoyin. That which the Kohen really talks about. Hinoki mimei hamorim ha'ela. There's no mention of them. Vertafil nidamont with the post gered v'kimadov v'poil. It's not even mentioned when we talk about it. In our pasuk, when it says v'nikso, we're talking about if it should mean of some preventative didn't let her that she'll be cleared of the thing didn't let her have children. But in our when it actually takes place, we're not mentioning that which the Kohen gave in his oath that she should be cleared from the Mayim water. Nick says Mashmat is the Mayim HaMorib. So therefore, it's very difficult, Tzarichi in the Pshat uh, of the Ram. First of all, it should say Vinirpa, not Vinik. So if it's talking about healing a previous disease. And second of all, it should be talking about what the talking by the pasuk was talking about before the Ma'imam Orim. It says Hinoki, and we don't feel. And the Nixa here would mean something else. Why would we even think so? And then we have another interpretation from the Gorari. Al derech zeh is kosher leidam tiris from Gorari is similar. It's also difficult according to the answer of Gorari. As Rashi is oisen to bavornen. That Rashi means to caution us with only stage bin niksa min ha'oinesh. That don't translate niksa, she will be clear, and she will be cleared from the punishment. K'moy v'niko ha'ish ma'avin, like we find in the pasuk in Lamed Aleph pasuk Lamed Leno, that a man will be cleared from sin for causing the sight of that. So v'nika means on the person will be cleared from sin. Varim v'bald, that pasuk zog beferish. Frier. The pasuk says beferish. What is the cleaning from? Hinoki mimei hamorim hamaorim ha'ela. Should be cleansed from these bitter, cursing waters. So we know what it means. V'nikso. Is meichitesa loymar? How could we? Where would we take that? There's alber loshon v'nikso b'siyum ha'inyan. That when it says v'nikso, it means all of a sudden should be cleared from some main and under inyan. Mina oina should be cleared from a sin. It's not something which is really logical to conclude that way. So the Rebbe explains now that it seems to be the pasuk just throws in something new that was not mentioned at all before. The pasuk talked about what happens if she did sin. This will happen, the negative stuff. The Torah says, if not. Now all of a sudden, the pasuk says, "Oh, she will have children," and this Rashi wants to bring down that it's not something new. This is actually a result of the Mayim HaMa'orim, and that's why Rashi chooses specifically these two areas in which the blessing will be that she will give birth easily and she will give birth to Levonim, white instead of dark. Let's look inside that. We can say the explanation all the above. Rashi bepirusha kumt verentfern. Ashayla pshuta in posik. Rashi with his commentary is coming to answer a very simple question in the verse. The bald as beim mashbia sein the isha. Since when the oath is administered to the woman, werden ausgerechnet alle pratim. All details are enumerated. Welche Wellen geschehen betitzo, which will take place, happen as a result from Shtias Mayim Hamaorim, from drinking these water, the cursed waters. Sai im loishachav goimer, both in the case in which you did not do an avera, and sai oib sotis tachas yishech, that you did do an avera. Is vi kumtes. So how come, as the Nor, when the Pasuk read wegen die Tetzos bepoil, that when the Torah actually says what happens, werd nicht teus van Eiringen. Now we have a new idea. Benizra Zora, welche is nicht for euch gesagt in der Schwur, that has not been foretold in the administered oath. It doesn't say about it. How is we get something new? Und if zu beantworten die Scheile, in order to answer this question, is Rashi maitik v'nikso. Rashi quotes v'nikso und sagt, Mimayim ha'ma'orim v'loi oid elo. Not only, which means it's a continuation. Not only will she be cleared from the Mayim Hama'orim, but not only that, Elo v'nizra zera im hoiso yeledas chulu, but the seed that you will have, if she would be giving birth to, as Rashi says, with difficulty or to black, she will go easily and white. Was der mit will Rashi madgish sein. Rashi wants to emphasize as mit v'nizra zera, when it said nizra zera, may need the Torah to meisiv sein aschart stam. Torah is not here to add just another plain a reward, just a reward. Vazibakum mitzadam kolon, that she receives because of the shame, vazis durchgegangen, that she went through. Das is atitzo pu'ula, but this is a result, it's an act from the Ma'imam Ordem Gufa, from these modern water themselves. The Hainu. As nit norvas, which means nit norvas the Ma'im vel nit poil sein Boronius. Not only will they not impact any punishment, as vet von zei bottle werden dem Orim, that the cursing and the bitterness of them is going to cease, stop, bottle. Not only that, elo, but rather the mayim will noch pils an shel bracha. These waters will impact an idea of blessing. Hepech the morim, the opposite of the curse water, vinizro zera. Vinizro zera is not something new because this is the result of this mayim. Und der Fahr legt Rashi zu v'nikso mimayim amorim. That's what Rashi adds. She will be cleared mimayim amorim. Das ist nicht as so auf zu shoylo sein an ander pirush v'nikso. It's not so much to exclude some other interpretation v'nikso, like the Goraria, like the Ram. Nor if to madgish sein wie der v'nizro zera. Rashi is coming to emphasize that when it says she'll have seed, she'll be sown with seed, she'll achreze, is atitzoa from the Mayim Amorim. This is a result, a consequence from the bitter water. V'nikso v'nizro zera. So it comes out according to this, as the v'nizra zora is a tail, the hemshach, that the nizra zora is a part and a continuation from the v'nikso v'mayim hamorim, that she will be cleared for the mayim hamorim, and she will give zora. Is b'meila nit ken kashe farvos dos wird nit gesagt früher. So it's not a question why this is not said earlier by Mashbia Zain the Isha, when you administered the oath to the woman, but the kohen zok the minyan or ba'ifim kloli, because then he says it in a general way. He noki mimei hamaorim goimer, be cleared from these bitter water, and as a result, later on, and this will help Nizro Zoru, the Nochis, the Pasuk Mefaris. Then the Pasuk details, as the Inoki Mehamorim, the clear Mehamorim is Kololech Dam Prat from Nizro Zera. This includes the detail that Nizro Zera. So since this is a continuation, really, of the Hinoki Memayim Hamaorim, that this they clear and they bring the blessing, so it has to be similar to what the Mayim Hamaorim did in the positive side. That's why Rashi chooses these two things that Rashi mentions. Hey, al pi kol hazakol zeh. So based on this, wird man euch verstehen, will also understand, from was Rashi is mefarish, when Nizro Zera, why Rashi explained Nizro Zera, im hoyse led this betzar telet berevach, im hoyse led this shchenim, he led levonim. Rashi doesn't say just she'll have children. He just says specifically these two things, that if she would give birth to pain, then she will be giving birth in a wide way. And if she would have black ones, then she's going to have white one. Bibald loit Rashi. Since, according to Rashi, Bibald loit Rashi is the Veniz Rosara pool of the Maimam Amorim. The Veniz Rosara is an effect from the water of these that are cursed, the cursed waters, Ham Tumuras Pulos Ma'avchim. In exchange, instead of their opposite impact of them im sotis, on the case if you did stray, is mistaber, it's logical as their oiftu from their pula letoiva, that the accomplishment, what it does, impacts for the impact in the good, is bedugma zum oifum pulos ma'efech. It's similar to the impact in which they impact the opposite. Kishem vi der peula hofchis. Just like by the opposite act, wollten the Mayim HaMa'orerim, the bitter waters, ir nit nor mechaser gewen min ha'olam. It's not only that they would have her disappear or leave, take her away from the world. Kipirush Rashi. Hama'orim, hamechasrin oiso mina oilam. Ma'orim mean the curse that lake taking her away from the world. Nordavki is more than just taking her away. Nordavki in an eifim puntsar when you suit him, but specifically in the way of pain and affliction through lots of discomfort and pains. As the pasuk says, her stomach blows up and the thigh falls. The same thing is the impact for the blessing from the mayim by loisutis when the water when she did not strain. Is nicht nor as kinder when It's not only that she will have children. When Zara, nor the oifun von Venizra Zara is lahipa von Tsar. But the way she will have these children is in the opposite of pain. Just like over there is the painful, over here is opposite pain. If she would giving birth in pain, now she's going to give birth either painless, easily. What is the black and white? Black represents difficulty, blackness, benigud to the shachrus haponim. The opposite of the blackness of the face versus bringing the yisurim. When pain comes on you, the face blackens from tzovna bitov naflo irecha, that was caused by her stomach swelling up and the thigh falling, that it caused her black. Now the bracha is that it's levanim. Mashenkin the andere in Yorn was Chazal bringen, as opposed to the other areas, aspects that's brought down by our sages of blessed memory. The kavas you let the zechorim, if the female they'll get males, ketzorim let zaruchim, short they'll get long. Well, derech zechad the shnayim, similar one gives birth to two. You let the shteishonim, you let the b'chol shona. Those who gave birth 2 years will get but 1 year. All these haben nit in zich kein tchunas. They don't have a characteristic, which have some connection, the dogma similarity to the pulu by sotis, to the impact when you did stray from these lacking cursing waters. So therefore, the two things that have similarity is comfortable birth instead of pain over there, white instead of dark, which comes with pain. And that inyan, the Rebbe explains now, fits also the inner meaning of the idea of Seitor. That inyan the Benizra Zera Nitztamaschar. Here that we're saying this is not just a reward. nor atitzoa from the Mayim Amorim. This is actually a consequence, a result of the Mayim Amorim. Atzmam so is euch masim mit euchem Pnimi von Inyan HaSoita. This also fits with the inner content of the idea of what a Soita is. But Chilas HaInyan from Pasuk in the beginning of the subject on the verse, Ish kisishte ishtei, a man whose wife will stray, Zogn Chazal, our sages tell us, Ein odom ever aveda and ke nichnas by ruach shtus. A person who does not violate a sin unless a spirit of folly, foolishness enters him. Thus haste, as inyan hasoita is maramis of the ruach shtus, that the idea of a soita hints to the spirit of foolishness. That's a soita. The soita represents the sishta, the level of folly, velchegiti of shorius. That gives the possibility in this goyim and causes the odom zol zayin an over aveda that the person should violate the sin. But this is der inyan von kinui vestira b'aveda ruchnis. That's the idea of warning and seclusion in the spiritual service of men. What does it mean to go into seclusion? Seclusion means as a yid behalt sich, kehrt sich up from the Eibishter. A person hides, a yid hides, turns away from Hashem. Der ish from Knesset Yisrael, the husband, the man of Knesset Yisrael, the gathering of the Jewish people, the Knesset Yisrael, their man, they're turning away from him, and they're hiding. Avop is that ishot mekane given an ongezogt, even though that this man had warned them and instructed them. Altisteri, don't go into seclusion. He says, Lo yiluchol goyim raponai, don't have any other gods on my face. Hashem has warned them not to go to others. Behalt sich mit nish achad dem Yitzhahara. And you go and hide yourself. You go into seclusion with this other man. That's the Yitzhahara. So that's the idea of Soita. When the inyan from the Nixo is there, so what's the idea of Nixo? She'll be cleaned and she'll have seed. Weißt dem inyan hatshuva. This points to the idea of tshuva. Durch tshuva wird nit nor rein, the Nixo von tumas achet. Through tshuva, not only does he become clean from the impurity of the sin when the person does tshuva. No nochmer, es wird aufgetan an ilu legabe freyer, but more than this, there is even an advantage relative to earlier. Kemaimer, mokim shebal tshuva emdim tzadikim gemurim menem emdim. On the place where great, complete tzadikim stand, tzadikim cannot stand it, which means that he accomplishes even more than before. So the tshuva, the niksa, brings v'nizra zera, brings something more. Not only niksa, you become a greater level. Das bevorent Rashi, this is what Rashi cautions us in this Rashi also, now that we're learning it according to the inner meaning. As the v'nizra zera, the aliyah shalidei tshuva, that elevation that takes place to tshuva is not stam azayti kerinyan. It's not just a side matter. But it comes from these bitter, lacking, cursed waters itself. The aliyah is verbunden damit, was the mayim ha'ma'orim gufa. The elevation is tied to the fact that we take these water, ma'orim water, is mahapech l'toivis hapcha, you turn them to good, turn around. The time you take the bitter to sweet. This sins intentional become merits. Und das ist der Pampnimi. And this is the inner reason for was der Inyan from Venizra Zera, the idea that there will be the seed, the accomplishment, state Eshlib Seifa Parsha, is only stated in the end of the Parsha, when it comes in actuality. But it's not in the warning of the Kohen, as that Rebbe pointed out before. Und nicht früher in der Shvuah, not in the oath administered. Weil der Inyan, because this idea is durch der Yeride in Chet Soita, that through the descent, through the Soita Kumta Ruiz de Rocha Aliyah, that this brings out later on an elevation, the Gabi Lifnei Achet, before the Kenitstein Begol Lifnei Asiyis Tshuva. That cannot be stated before doing openly Tshuva. You can't go, you cannot have this, that there's going to be an elevation after you do the sin. Because Eida that eat Shuv to Tshuva, because before he does Tshuva, is the Cha'imer Echte V'Ashuv Ein Maspikim B'Yad Lasit Tshuva. If one says, I will sin and then I'll return, he's not going to get the opportunity to do Tshuva. Metorni ton achet. You're not allowed to do a sin with the consideration, the calculation, as sulidem, but when home the milif and tshuva, you'll have the advantage of tshuva. Can't say it in the pasuk v'nizra zora before you actually did the tshuva. Only after there is the actual tshuva, then is revealed. As the from the kavana from them is given. The intention from this was as the zolzain nit nor de venikso v'koyim achet. Not only should it be clean like before the sin, nor v'nizra azora, to have the seed sown, meaning accomplishment more, to oifton an aliyah nailis b'yoser, to make a very high elevation, uberevach, in a wide way, ulevonim and white. Yisrael oisin tshuva miyadei negolim. The Yidden do tshuva, immediately they're freed. As tmuras dem tzarvi yisurim from Chevle Mashiach, that in the place and instead of the pain and the afflictions of the woes of Mashiach, vert revach, becomes space, becomes spacious. When Ashtod der Shachrus from Golus, and instead of the blackness, the darkness of Golus, hushchuru pneim shel Yisrael kshula gedera, as it says that the Jewish face, they were blackened like the bottom of the pot, that brings the white one, the light of redemption. This white and this white, the white and the white starts before the Gula and the last to the going from Golus, the last moments of Golus. Just as in the days when you left Egypt, even while in Egypt before the Gula, is the Shibut Sar, it came taken away, that pain, that Tsar, that all Yinda was light. So, meaning while we're still in Golus, even before Mashiach, we should merit to have that level of light and not shibut. When we get to the Gula Mitzvah Shlema, and we go to the true and complete redemption, even from Beshuva Vanachas Tivashen, that you will be returned in a relaxed, berevach, you'll be so. Very speedily in our day. This is Mesichas Shabbos Parshas Naso Tov Shin Mem.